Hi, it's Liz. Let's talk about a pair in the movie The Long Hot Summer from 1958. It stars Paul Newman and his leading lady is Joanne Woodward, but I'm talking about a different pair. Paul Newman and Bill Walker. They play Ben Quick and Lucius the butler, respectively. The story of The Long Hot Summer follows Ben Quick as he rises economically in 1950s Mississippi. He grew up not only impoverished, but also with a family whose reputation was criminal. So he was an outcast in a number of ways. So he stumbles upon this town where he falls in thick with the Varner family. He becomes their employee, rises through the ranks, and eventually he's brought to the Varner house. He's allowed to stay in the Varner house while he runs their businesses. Now, there's a moment when he's first moved in where Lucius the butler shows him his room, and they're in the hallway there for a moment. The two of them briefly swap poverty stories and then they move on. But I always thought, oh, that could be expanded into a complete movie on its own, in that you have these two men who were, of course, children at one point, who never thought they'd be in the big house, and yet, meaning a big house, and yet here they are. So I would like to see a film where you see these two boys growing up, and then whatever the paths were that led them to both be standing there in the hallway of this house. Now, Ben Quick eventually starts to make inroads not just in the Varner business, but he also wants to be a part of the Varner family and begins to woo and court the daughter of the family and eventually does marry her. At least that's the implication by the end. Lucius is nowhere near allowed to do that. And so again, the parallels of, the two of them kind of meeting in the hall, being in the hallway there and sort of swapping stories. The story isn't exactly the same for Lucius, which is interesting. I want to explore that parallel. I want to explore that parallel more. Nobody's done it, and I haven't done it. I haven't written a script of these two men, but I thought, that would be so fun to expand on that tiny, tiny conversation in the hallway. That's a whole movie by itself. Nobody would in their right mind would want to marry into the Varner family though, because they're fairly abusive people. So Lucius is there to be a sort of center of calm. He's the one everybody trusts to get everything done while they basically scream at each other. He's just calmly going about his business, being the face of dignity while his employer is not. But anyway, yeah, that story should be expanded, I think, a little bit because I always found it to be fascinating.